What's up, everybody? It's Red back with the YouTube review, the latest pro wrestling news and results as Pod Wrestling Rants. Baby! Let's go! Rant number 2 on a Thursday, and we are rolling into midweek must-see matches. Once again, taking a look back at the week in wrestling and what really hit as far as marquee matches for the week in all the major promotions, AEW, WWE, and that's Impact Wrestling, Ring of Honor, NXT, SmackDown, Raw, Dynamite, Collision. By God, we got it all here right for you at Wrestling Rant. So let's get into it. I thought this was going to be a much larger list because I thought it was a pretty good week in wrestling. Although what really was a showcase this week was a lot more of angles, promos, that type of things, returns to wrestling like CM Punk, for example, things of that nature. But there was a good 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 matches this week that I felt were kind of on the must-see list to check out if you're kind of looking to roll back to see what all happened this past week on the major shows. So let's start out. This is from the 15th of June all the way to yesterday, which was the 20th, or 21st, excuse me, I believe it was. Yeah, I think it was the 21st yesterday on Wednesday night. So let's get into it all here. This is going to be probably a quicker rant than normal because there's just not a lot to talk about as far as the matches go. However, on the 15th, that would have been last Thursday, I didn't really see anything of significant must-see value on Ring of Honor, but on Impact, I thought there was a pretty strong match as the main event that had a decent amount of time, and it had a pretty good angle afterwards as well with Nick Aldis turning on Alex Shelley. This was a 10-person tag in mixed variety. We had the Motor City Machine Guns, Nick Aldis, Trinity, and Deonna Purrazzo in there against Kenny King, Shelton Jean, Trey Miguel, Giselle Shaw, and Savannah Evans. I thought for what it was all right. It stood out as a pretty decent match. I went about 3.5 stars on it. It was worth checking out. How about the next night? SmackDown really didn't have anything I would call must-see in matches. Everything was very short, like 2 or 3 minutes at a time. Even the Gauntlet tag match for the tag title shot just kind of was there. It just really didn't go very far in many different positive directions, I felt. So I really couldn't say SmackDown had anything of a match quality to must-see. Now, we're talking about the Bloodline angle at the end of the show. You definitely have to check that out if you have not yet. That was some good shit, folks. No doubt about it. However, on a Rampage after SmackDown aired, there was one particular match I thought that stood out, and that was Konosuke Takeshita against Bandito as the main event of Rampage. This was excellent stuff. These guys were like peanut butter and jelly, folks. I thought they really meshed well together. There was some good near falls. I wouldn't call it the greatest match in Rampage history or anything like that, but it was still a really excellent match. I went 3 3/4 stars on this one. I thought it was definitely, as far as Rampage standards go, pretty damn good for sure. Then we move on to the next night, and that was Collision in Chicago. There definitely was a couple matches of note on that show. First and foremost, Andrade against Buddy Matthews. Wow, I thought this match had potential to be good, but it was great. I really liked this. I said it in the Collision rant. This fucking match should have been the opener on Collision right after that CM Punk promo. We should have went to this. I thought this would have been a hot as well as a very memorable first match in the history of AEW Collision. It's a shame they didn't do it as an opener, but just an excellent 4-star match, no question about it. I loved at the end as well, where both Buddy and Andrade were pulling off submission moves, particularly from their significant others, Rhea Ripley and Charlotte Flair. Very unique for sure. And then the 6-man tag as the main event of Collision. What can you say? I thought CM Punk looked pretty good for his first match back. FTR carried a pretty heavy load in this match as well. Samoa Joe and CM Punk's exchanges were great. There was a submission sequence where I thought Punk was done. Was not to be. I thought Jay White looked great in there with Punk as well. I'd love to see a one-on-one match with those two. Juice Robinson sold his ass off. Just a win-win. I think everybody really looked great in this match. And once again, I went 4 stars on this one. Then we move all the way to the 19th. This was Monday Night Raw. And the main event, I thought, was strong. Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens, and Cody Rhodes against the Judgment Day. I liked it. I wouldn't say this was the best match of the week, but this was definitely worthy of main event status. No question about it. I went a good 3.5 stars on this one. We move over to the next day. This would have been the 20th. NXT had, which is very, take note of this, NXT had what I was used to from having the formula of Dynamite. And to me, Dynamite normally kicks off with a pretty hot match to open and a pretty hot main event to close. That was not the case with Dynamite this week, but it actually was the case with NXT on Tuesday, where the show opened with Wes Lee against Tyler Bate, the North American Championship, with Mustafa Ali as the referee. And this was a fun match. I would go 3 3/4 stars on this one. Just action from bell to bell. These two worked very well together, for sure. And what can you say about Seth Rollins defending that World Heavyweight Championship for the first time on NXT? Apparently got a pretty sizable rating, maybe the biggest quarter-hour rating in NXT history, I think I read, against Braun Breaker. Solid match. I would like to see these guys have yet another match for maybe potential for somewhat of a program with these two. I guess time will tell. We'll see where they go with Braun as he gets moved up the main roster eventually, maybe sooner than later. Maybe they follow up on this sooner than later as well. But I went a solid 3 3/4 stars on this one, similar to the Wesley match with Tyler Bate. I thought, man, this delivered. This was really good, for sure. Then we moved to the 21st. That would have been last night on Dynamite. Like I said, there was no strong opener. The opener was actually kind of a dud between the Hardys and the Guns, frankly. And there was a questionable match with a concession stands brawl with Jarrett and Briscoe. I just couldn't really get into it too much. And other matches were just kind of there as well. The match with Taya Valkyrie and Chris Stanlander as an example. But this match did stand out for me as being pretty solid. Orange Cassidy, Kazuchika Shibata against Zack Sabre Jr. and Daniel Garcia. I went 3.5 stars on this one. I'm really intrigued on how this match is going to go with the 4-way at Forbidden Door with these guys. I think they have definitely a potential to do better than even this match was. So we'll see where they go with it. But that was really the standalone, singular match that really stood out for me on Dynamite this week on substance. Everything else took a backdrop to mostly the promos, particularly that last maybe 7 minutes of Dynamite was, wow, really excellent stuff, no doubt about it. So, rolling back, taking a look back, it probably won't be the match to really check out more than anything this week. If you haven't had a chance to, I'd say go back to Collision and check out both the Andrade match and the 6-man main event. Those were both equally strong matches. I would say both of them were a 4-star level, no question about it. So do yourself a favor if you haven't checked those matches out. Also, NXT this week was definitely worth it, for sure. One more rant to go, folks, on a Thursday, and that's Retrospective coming up next. This Day in Wrestling, June 22nd. What all happened? Come on back, let's talk about it. As the Retrospective kicks off this week with a look back on June 22nd. Come on back here later on for Retrospective, right here, Wrestling.